Hello. Um, well, this is a topic I feel a little uncomfortable talking about. Being a white person, I really haven't had to deal with any discrimination. I'm Italian and Irish too, although not Pennsylvania Dutch. And my skin tone is more, I always say more, I have more the Irish look, which makes me look even whiter. Um, I also grew up in an area where it felt like probably 75% of the people were either Italian and or Irish. Uh, yeah, and it was a very white area. But I never considered myself racist anyway. I always felt I was open minded and that color of a person should have no effect on who they are. Um, but as you get older, you realize maybe you have a little bit of racism in you. I remember talking to a friend of mine, um, probably in high school or right after we got out of high school. And I think there were two black kids in our graduating class, and I remember the comment he made. Uh, yeah, but they're not really black. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I kind of knew what he meant, and I guess that's not the right way to look at it. I also would feel uncomfortable walking down the streets of Harlem by myself or any situation where I guess I was the minority in a room with black people. So I guess there is some racist feelings inside me. I, I don't know if it's racism or just an uncomfortability. I don't know, but I like to think generally I'm open minded. Um, you talk about what you could do to combat racism. My situation is kind of hard, but what is I do see a bit of it more from the ignorance side. Uh, I see people these make certain comments and use the N word and in I mean it's a derogatory word, but in a very derogatory way. These are people who are generally not bad people. Uh, but I also work with, I do, other people I work with are high school kids. And I guess the only thing I really do uh, think about it is if the discussion comes up, you talk about it. Like I remember one kid talking about, you know, how there are more black people in prison than white people. So you have this, you know, black blacks are more likely to be criminals than whites. Stereotype, as you said, there's some truth to it if there are more in prison. But getting in, to the reasons why, I don't believe you're born a criminal because of your skin color. I believe it's all economical. The lower, the less money you have, the more likely you are to get into crime. And well, for us, it probably seems a long time ago. I mean, slavery only ended 150 years ago, and segregation's only like 60 years ago. I mean, there are a lot of people alive today who couldn't go to school with white people or drink from the same water fountain or use the same bathroom. So to be at that much of a disadvantage for that much time, obviously black people are going to have an economic disadvantage to start out with, and that leads to what I'm try to explain that to certain people. Whether that changes their thoughts or not, I don't know. You're also saying as the older people die out, maybe racism will go away. I think it will lessen. I don't know if it's so much the older people dying out as it is. I feel the world's getting smaller, whether it's TV, the internet, places like YouTube. There's more exposure to different cultures, and you see them for what they are, not these other people. And I think that makes you think less of it as us and them, and as opposed to just us. That being said, I don't think it'll ever totally die out. I think there will always be people who hate people who are different. I think and unfortunately, I do think there is something in the genes. I think some people are born that way, and let's do something where they said, even if you took two groups of people who hated each other and put them together, and they realized they weren't that different, they would eventually get along, but find someone else to hate. So I feel if you have that hate in your heart, it's hard to get rid of these people. You know, or to get rid of it altogether. I think there always will be some sort of racism, but hopefully it gets less and less. The other thing I want to get to, you talk about the banning of the Confederate flag by Walmart and other places, and I know they talk about taking it down from government buildings. I always found it a little odd that a government building would display the Confederate flag. I'm not sure the reasons. I guess there's maybe a Southern pride thing, but I always felt it has such a connection to the Civil War and slavery. And I know there are other reasons for the Civil War, but that connection has with slavery. It always surprised me that a government facility would have that flag up. So, yeah, that's just a few of my thoughts on discrimination and racism. So, all right, thanks for listening.